What? Yes. Okay. Other firms. This month's which month? Which month?
They either need to lower these monitors or raise these seats.
Chairman. Chairman, we have quorum.
Need to be read. Okay, we have a quorum. I'm calling this meeting for GBIC on February 27 to order.
Thank you. Roll call. Chairman Anker Jensen,
Here.
Vice Chairman Dr. Joe Hinojosa, Treasurer Gerardo Gonzalez, Secretary Liliana Elizondo,
Present.
Board Member Frank Orozco Jr.,
Present.
Board Member Anna O'Quinn,
Present.
Board Member Benjamin Peña.
Here.
And for the record, Vice Chairman Dr. Joe Hinojosa and Treasurer Gerardo Gonzalez are not present at the moment. Thank you. Next item, public comment period. And there were no public comments, Chairman, registered. Next item, consent agenda items. Consideration and action, if any, on the following items. A, approval of the minutes of special workshop and regular board meetings, regular meeting, January 23rd, 2024. And item B, approval regarding the payment of vendor services invoice to the Greater Bronzeville Incentives Corporation, GBIC, for the month of January 2024.
I understand that Brett wanted a couple of minutes in the beginning of the meeting. Is that a good time now, Brett?
If you want to go ahead and approve the previous minutes, that's fine.
Okay.
I can take over next.
I have a question on the vendor invoices, just on half. What is, I mean, I know we've had a few invoices from them, but can you just give us an idea of what that one was for? The 172?
Oh, okay, so that is, oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Elizondo, that has been the payments for working on the master plan for the industrial park, as well as working for the other documents required for the modification of all the drainage district, and working for the documents required by FEMA to be able to take out the flood zone out of the property.
So
And
basically for the replatting or the subdividing, or what is it?
It is not, that is gonna be separate.
Okay,
This is only for the master plan and to be able to start the process of moving dirt and to start to fill the property in. That's where, and creating the master plan. But creating a master plan is different than doing the subdivision for phase one. It's a little bit different.
Have we finished the master plan?
No, that's currently what we have been working on, or part of the work we're doing.
do we have like a set amount that they're charging us for this preliminary phase?
I can give you,
We have a contractual agreement with them that takes us through this process, yes.
Okay, so this is just like a payment we already
yeah,
looked at as a whole?
Yes.
They're not doing like hourly billing?
I believe this was taken out about July or August on the executive session. And we,
Okay.
the board approved the contract with half for that section.
So it's just a payment,
For 65, something like,
1,000? Okay, got it. Because I think I just remembered seeing a big one from last month, so I just wanted to see.
yeah, that was including as well the surveys and all the
Yeah.
the documentation required.
Okay, thank you. Make a motion to approve.
Any second?
Second.
Although, any discussion on the vendor payments? Any more discussion?
On the consent agenda?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, employee recognition and the presentations by Brett Gardella.
Board, before I get to recognizing Carla, I wanted to also recognize the fact that we are, I think, a full team now. We brought on our marketing and communications director about a month ago. At our last meeting, we ran a little bit long, and she actually took ill and had to leave before we could introduce her. But Ms. Alexa Perez is our new marketing and communications director. And if you've noticed on our social media over the last probably month, you're going to see a whole bunch of news stories that we're telling about a lot of these incredible businesses within our community. And I think this is really one of the ways that we are going to show our strength is by lifting up the others around us. And she's been doing a terrific job with that. She's also been working with our advertising, marketing, public relations firm about the new branding and controlling everything on the website. So you're going to see some pretty big changes on that. I'm going to say in about 4 to 6 weeks as well. But I just wanted to recognize Alexa Perez.
Well done. Thank you for joining us.
In addition, based on our conversation last month, we have brought on our new finance manager, Salvador Villalpando, is with us now. And we are still working through a little bit of the process of making sure he has access to all of the accounts so he can start handling our APA, our payroll, some of the HR type of skills and, doing some negotiations with the healthcare providers and et cetera, et cetera. So glad to have him on board. And Sal, if you want to. He'll also be making the presentations to you on a monthly basis. And he's available to you on a daily basis. If you have questions about something on the financials, you are always more than welcome to send him an email or give him a call. He is here on our team for you. So.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome aboard, both of you. Just to note, I understand there was a problem on the MOI. Has that been resolved?
I believe so. I will ask our counsel to address that issue.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So we are in the process of working through the administrative agreement between us and the city. We've had some things we need to adjust on there. Part of that is, I believe,
We're talking about this.
giving the
The
finance
transition?
department,
Yeah, so we had some questions, the department heads had some questions about the transition since we haven't taken the administrative services agreement to this board or city commission. But some of that has been ironed out today is my understanding. One of the requests was to get Mr. Salvador about 5 years of records, and EA should be reaching out to you all to have those transferred. And then right now, I believe they're getting a read-only view for the accounts, but we will be changing that pretty soon.
Yeah,
What is the holdup? Somebody on the power trip or what?
Change is hard. More precisely, the finance director, he had a directive to oversee GBIC. That's the directive that the city commission had given him. And so based on the current administrative services agreement, that's what he's trying to fulfill. He's trying to fulfill his duties through that. And so we did put the city on notice that we are amending the agreement and requesting to move away in certain areas. And so they're aware. It's just there's a hesitation of doing that without having the city commission approve that services agreement amendment.
which we will get done forthwith.
Okay, but when will we get that resolved?
I would say within the next month.
Lastly, if Ms. Carla de la Riva can come forward. It's not very often that, and I certainly mean this because I've been doing this now for 17 years, but it's not very often that you find employees that stick with an economic development organization for typically a period longer than 3 years. And I mean that sincerely because they tend to have to move on to move up. And we are very blessed that Carla has been with us for the last 5. As you guys know, there's been a lot of different board machinations, as well as I think some director level machinations that have happened, and she's stuck it out. She has truly become the queen of workforce development in South Texas, not just in Brownsville. And I personally am very grateful that I get an opportunity to work with her on a daily basis. And we wanted to recognize her for her service. So we have a little something for her. And this is also first opportunity that we can demonstrate our new logo and branding that we are going to use. Really taking advantage of the greater than symbol. And, you know, if the swoosh is good enough for Nike, certainly this is good enough for us. But Carla, honestly, congratulations. I'm blessed with this opportunity to work with you. Best of Steve as well. We would love it if we could get everybody together and take this.
Go down or stand here?
You look taller now. We can have a picture.
Take it,
Yeah.
get it.
Thank you, Will.
Of course.
Not as good as. Perfect. All right, one of those.
Congratulations, Carla.
Yeah, congratulations. Thank you, Carla. Thank you so much.
Next item, Greater Brownsville Staff Report. And we have business recruitment and community events, workforce and business development outreach, business retention and expansion efforts, marketing communications strategic efforts, and Greater Brownsville events and partnership efforts.
Hello, good evening. Thank you. Sorry. So in today's report, we received through the state of Texas 9 RFIs. We are responding to one, which is a RFI on semiconductors. We had 5 consultant inquiries. Those were either someone offering us a building and others looking for buildings. On the RFIs, the average square feet that they were looking for was 128,000 square feet. The smallest acreage was 8 acres up to 100 acres. They were big budget projects. Next slide, please. Any questions?
Project,
Sorry about that.
can you elaborate a little bit about more of the project? What was the project? Was it?
So we had projects on, of course, hydrogen still is very popular. We had some battery, ion battery projects as well. And most of them, out of the 9, the one that we're responding to, the other 8, we didn't even bother referring to the port because they were just massive in utilities or massive in water usage, as well as some that we did respond to the board about and asked for their input. They declined as well. So it was just projects that are really kind of out there. The other thing that I was mentioning to our staff was that some of these projects are really quick turnaround projects. They were like, they wanted to do a site visit in February, do the site selection in March, and be up and running by the end of the year. So it kind of didn't fit with some of the infrastructure that we have available. But there were still, I think, one of the buildings, and I said average of 128, one of the buildings was 350,000 square feet. And then when I factored in the smaller building request, that's kind of why you brought it down to 128,000. But they were some pretty big footprints that we probably, well, we couldn't accommodate. But I can send you, I didn't bring it with me, but I
I'm
did.
just wondering, you're saying the land, they need a lot of land, the port has got a lot of land, so did you forward it to the port?
I did, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. If it doesn't fit us, and I take a look at it and it looks like it might fit at the port, I do make the referral.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Is there any opportunity like with some, I mean, because that's a lot of them and you're saying that they're all pretty big. So is there any opportunity to keep in contact with any of these companies and?
Most of them have a submit by date. It usually, once that submit by date is, it's usually gone, right? And the state does not come back to you and say, hey, we put it in wherever, in Harlingen or in Dallas, Fort Worth area. They just kind of, the date comes by, passes, and it's gone. I have seen in the past, in fact, there was one last week that came through that they had sent an RFI earlier, I think last month, early last month. And they came back for a second round, which doesn't happen very often. The problem was it was looking for gray areas, and gray areas are areas in which smokestacks are allowed. And they actually had the locations of those areas already annotated, which we were not in that gray area.
Most of the challenges on this as well, board, just to remind you, these are RFIs or RFPs or RFQs that come in from the state. And they're under some fictitious name, you know, Alfredo Pasta or whatever they want to call it. And so we don't really know who the company is. All we know is the parameters of what they're looking for. And I'm going to say that probably 80 to 90% of the time since I've been here, we can't meet their needs for power is the challenge. It isn't about the acreage that's available or not available or the buildings that are available or not available. But what they're looking for requires such a high water usage or power needs that, you know, our utility companies can't provide it. And if we know that, then obviously we're already behind the eight ball and trying to help them. But I think Jerry's done an incredible job of really staying in touch with the port. So if there are opportunities that we can't handle, we immediately go to the port. We also have the ability now that the county has hired somebody on a full-time basis doing economic development, that we turn to him and ask him if there's opportunities within the county, hopefully closer down to our city, that they could benefit one of these projects. Of course, the other opportunity there is the power needs aren't necessarily in existence in the county as well. So it's not, and I know every month we look at this and we go, well, we've had 9 or 10 bites at an apple, but the truth is we barely sink our teeth in because we can't provide to them a lot of these things that they need to make their projects move forward.
Yeah.
And what about the brokers and consultants? Were those something that we could have done with, or are we working with?
There's one that I'm still working on. They haven't come back. They were looking for about 8 acres, and then they were looking for some buildings. They had two clients, but they kind of just touch base. A lot of them just kind of touch base, right? Hey, Jerry, do you have this? Do you have that? And I don't mean to make it sound so, you know, impersonal or just too personal, right? But it is kind of where somebody from McAllen or Dallas will call and say, hey, I got a customer that's looking for 8 acres, Jerry. Do you have anything? But they're so specific as well that a lot of times it's like, you know what, I don't have anything. We do have one that is looking for cold storage, and luckily we referred him over to what used to be the old Tex-Mex cold storage because Mr. Garrido, Juan Garrido over there still has about 30,000 square feet of cold storage that he's renovated. So we're lucky there that we have that. I made the referral. The last time I checked with Mr. Garrido, he hadn't heard anything yet. So that's still something we're exploring. And then I had a gentleman that called and he said, you know what, I have a building that's coming available. If you know of someone, Jerry, can you take my information? And I did. But it's 250,000 square feet as well. But it is something. The only power that he has there though is 480, which in many cases it's enough, but the water and sewage is just what it typically is, right? To Brett's point on the utilities, and I'm sorry if I'm taking too long, right? On the utilities, they're not coming anymore in megawatts, now they're coming back in gigawatts, where they're asking for 3 to 5 gigawatts of power. In one of the projects that I did refer to the board, and I did check on that one a couple of weeks ago. It's still viable. The consultants were from South Carolina, or are from South Carolina. And they said, you guys are still in the running. But by 2030, and one thing to add is we work very closely with PUB as well. So it's not like we say, well, we don't have the power. What we do is we also and Elazar and I will make a copy of the power requirements, the water requirements. We'll shoot it over to PUB. You know, is this something we can work? And we'll get a yes, Jerry, or no, Jerry, or yeah, in 5 years, or whatever the case may be. So we don't just look at it and say, hey, you know what, forget it. We try to give it the benefit of the doubt and see if there's something we can do with it.
That's good, especially so that PUB knows that they need to improve or scale up or.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to do that. It's going to take some time for them, fortunately. Oops, sorry, too fast. Brett and I did attend a couple of conferences. We attended SpaceCom in Orlando, Florida. That was actually pretty good, pretty neat conference. It's a small conference. It's not those great large ones that some of the space focused are, but we did make some good connections. In fact, we connected with one this morning, or reconnected with one this morning. It looks like we're going to circle back around in a couple of weeks. I don't know if we really want to discuss that but it is something that we're pursuing. And then there was a couple other connections as well that we just kind of sent out. Hey, you know what? Let's connect at the next time that we're there. We also assisted the airport with the Air Cargo Conference in Louisville, Kentucky. We actually met up with the new airport director over there, Mr. Angel Ramos. We attended some of the conference sessions that were there. We did make some good connections there as well. In fact, we've gotten some emails from some of the brokers and the freight brokers and some of the cargo carriers, a couple of cargo carriers that have asked to reconnect. And actually one has asked if he can come down here and tour the airport and the lands around the airport, because they think that there might be some interest there. So that was a good show as well. And then we also attended the Entertainment Experience Evolution in LA, California. That one was pretty cool. It had to do with all the new things that are coming out in food and beverage, and some of the things that are going on in retail that can add value to what your existing retail or food and beverage establishment is doing. Some things as unique and as small as just lights, like your Christmas lights that you flash on the wall. These are, a lot higher end, but give out a great experience. And then just some of the things. There was also some real estate developers there that were pitching their projects, which was pretty cool. Obviously, the demographics and the numbers that they're looking for were unable to meet, right? But they were some pretty interesting projects that they had available there. Any questions? Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, board members. Before starting my presentation, I just wanted to say thank you for your trust and thank you for allowing me to serve not only GBIC but the community. In the last 5 years, together as GBIC, we have been able to secure over $4 million training dollars from the state through multiple grants, and we have been able to support the training over 7,000 people. So definitely, it's an honor to serve the community, and thank you, Mr. Gardella and Jerry, for leading GBIC. I appreciate everything that you do for us, so thank you. As part of the workforce and business development activities that we did this month, we actually had the opportunity to get a visit from Bechtel Corporation, from the corporate office. We had the workforce manager coming to Brownsville early last month, and that was with the purpose to meet with the different workforce partners. They had the opportunity to meet with the CT program, ACE program, TSTC, TSC, and Workforce Solutions, just to learn more about the different resources, some of the initiatives that we already have going to support with the training needs that Bechtel has, and of course, kind of shape the curriculum and some of the trainings that they will be needing in the future. We also had the opportunity to travel to Dallas, Mr. Gardella and myself, to visit with some CT programs. We also visited with the CT director. We joined the CT and the city of Brownsville. We wanted to visit the CT programs in Dallas. That way we can learn more about, some of the programs that they have implemented and create some synergies. And of course, get some ideas to implement new programs and better the programs that we already have in our CT department, as well as to look at their facilities. It was a very successful trip. Also, as part of other activities that we did, we had the opportunity to visit with different industry partners, with Citrium, and also Chairman Anker Jensen joined me for visiting with Great Lakes. We also had the opportunity to connect industry partners with resources and funding opportunities and participate in different roundtables with the CT program. We also assisted with the superintendent search. So definitely getting very involved, not only with all the industry partners, but all the different activities that benefit, our students here locally. I also had the opportunity to travel to Georgetown with different, the state college, TSC, TSDC, the CT program and the university. As you know, we're part of the Texas Regional Convener PATS. They got a Workforce Solutions Cameron got a award, a 600,000 TA grant. And of course, we're working together in creating pathways and of course, supporting the local needs here. So we had the opportunity to travel to Dallas to receive some training. And I'm very happy to share with you that we've been working very closely with different workforce partners, and in partnership with Texas State Technical College, as well as Workforce Solutions Cameron, we have been able to secure 32 NCCR core scholarships for local Brownsville students here. This is a total amount, if we were gonna, add it up all together, it's a value of $40,000. So 32 students here locally are gonna be able to take one of these scholarships and of course, get the training that they need. And not only that, Workforce Solutions Cameron will be assisting some of the students that might need assistance with boots or tools, so it can be a full package. Not only they get the scholarship, but if they need assistance with tools or anything, Workforce Solutions Cameron can assist with that. So that was one of the major projects that we did this month. Do you have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
So Ms. Joanna Rangel will be giving the next presentation. Joanna, are you online?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. All right, good afternoon, board members, and good afternoon, team. So as part of my BRE update, I did a couple visits this past month, one of them being Rich Products. We were able to meet with the plant manager, Rey Esquivel, who gave us a tour, and I invited Brett and of course Carla so that they get to see the update on the new expansion project that, of course, we're supporting them throughout the way. They're going to be creating over 100 new jobs. And of course, the 117 million expansion project is something that we want to continue to support them on. And so they gave us some updates as to, where they stand and what they do. On the picture that you see on this slide, that's the expansion project towards the back. I don't know if you guys have driven through Boca Chica, but now you're able to see from far away, what they're building. So this project is going to be awesome. Another highlight on the projects that I am working on is going to be Larsen Tella. So Larsen Tella, we were able to stop by again and do a tour. And throughout, these visits that I'm doing, I'm inviting Alexa as the new director of marketing and communications, so that she's able to assist in, helping tell the stories, right? We want to make sure that the community knows what's going on in Brownsville, the expansion projects. Larsen Tella is also going through a major expansion project. They're projected to triple their sales from 23 million to 69 million in the next 12 months. Creating over 40 new jobs. So that's exciting, and something that we want to make sure that, we put out there on social media. I don't know if you guys have seen our social media lately, but thank you to Alexa. She's been able to showcase and put these stories out there as she's coming with me to my BRE visits. And of course, learning more about what the community has to offer in terms of job opportunities and expansions and all of that. So next slide, please. Or any questions? I'm sorry. No. Okay. So on the events that I attended this past month, one of them, of course, being the CTRIM incentives presentation. The team and I were out there doing the check presentation, as it's the final payment that was approved in our last board meeting. So that's exciting to get to meet the president's team and to, give them an award as to being one of the top partners for the Greater Brownsville. So that was exciting that we all got to come out there as well. We attended the Texas Talks luncheon as well, and Friday with the City. So Friday with the City was something I wanted to attend. Rich Products' expansion is something that was talked about a lot, as 14th Street is going to be, one of their major projects they're going to be fixing. And so I wanted to, kind of make sure to get those updates so that when I come back with Rich, I can update them on the status of that specific project. A couple of the ribbon cuttings that I attended was Longhorn Steakhouse, Gastro Bar, and Bread Smith Bakery. Bread Smith Bakery, this was the first time I tried their bread, and it's actually amazing. And the owner, I got to speak with her, and this is her 4th location that she's opened in the RGV. She has 2 in McAllen, 1 in Harlingen, and now in Brownsville, and it was a success. So it's exciting to be there and support them in this new journey. Any questions?
And actually, Giovanna and Marlene are in Round Rock this week attending the Economic Development Basic course. So that's why they're up.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, board members. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, and I'm very excited to serve the city and to serve Greater Brownsville. And hopefully this is just the beginning of a great journey for us. So right now, what I'm going to show you is what I've been working on the past month, and hopefully you see a couple of the plans that we have for the future. The first thing that I had to begin with is who is Greater Brownsville. As you know, any of the brands, we cannot move forward and we cannot promote our resources if we don't know who we are. That's why in all of the branding and all of the marketing collaterals and advertising that we're doing, we're advertising ourselves not only as an organization, but more than that. We are a force of transformation. We are transforming Brownsville, we're promoting economic development, and of course, transforming Brownsville through the economic development that we do. Based on that, I incorporated the storytelling to each of the divisions that we have. Now, we're able to promote Bronzeville not only as a place right here in the border, but using some of the different taglines, such as strategically located, easily connected, or prime location in 5 routes of connectivity, and promoting the 5 Rs, the rivet, road, runway, rail, and rocket. And then for each of the divisions, for example, I included the one for workforce development, which is building futures, investing in people, then where vision meets opportunity, your gateway to business advancement for BRE, and 730 acres of opportunity for all of the industrial parks. One of the big mistakes that sometimes we do is that we are able, we promote the land or we promote just the name of the location, but we don't promote to the companies or through the organizations that this is an opportunity, that this is a place to come and invest. So through all this strategic storytelling, I'm supporting each of the divisions so they can sell the resources that they are offering to the community in a better way. Now, of course, I went through the whole other technical things, which are, of course, the visual identity. In this case, as you have seen, and you can see in this PowerPoint presentation, the new layout that we have the new logo, we have, of course, a new concept, new colors. And based on that, we have already ordered a few of the new items, which include the folders, the our holders, envelopes, name tags that you will be giving to each of you in our next board meeting, business cards, polo shirts, etc., including this amazing pin that I'm wearing right now, and I'll be giving one to each of you at the end of the meeting. We're also going to be putting, of course, our John House sign. We haven't had one in a while, so we're going to be installing that this week. Now, going to the social media channels, as my coworkers explained, we've been working a lot on promoting the stories, and that's just part of the marketing, because we need to remember marketing is not only about social media, it's about the entire things that we do, internal and external, that talks about our brand. In this case, as you can see in the past, we had an average of around 1,000, 1,200,000 reach in Facebook, 151 reach for Instagram, and 1,785 reach for LinkedIn. Approximately, we had between 50 to 150 visits to each of the profiles every single day, getting between 1 to 5 followers every month. Now, after implementing the new strategies, and let me tell you that all of this has been organic, we haven't paid any single penny or dollar to any of these social media platforms to increase any of the statistics that you're seeing right now. So we went from 1,000 daily reach to 17,000. So that's an increase of 916%. Of course, if we go to Instagram, it was a 215% increase. And if we go to LinkedIn, it will be the most impressive. We went from having 1,785 impressions per day to 46,000 per day. So this is an increase of higher than 2,577%. Now we're having an average of 5,000 visits in each of the profiles, and this is daily. And we've been able to increase, especially on LinkedIn, 197 new followers just during this past month. And as I said, it's very important for us to recognize that all of this has been organic. And this is, of course, just a testament of the great things that we can accomplish just by changing a couple of things and starting telling the story to our community about what do we do. And you might ask, okay, great, you didn't pay, then how did you do it? The things that we did, and something that I'm very proud to say, and something that our executive director, Mr. Gardella, said, is that their story is our story. The story of each of these businesses that we're supporting, the story of each of these companies, the story of our community, it's a story. So we've been promoting the local businesses where we're telling their stories, not only of what they do, but also of their own employees, showing the loyalty that they have, showing all these amazing things that have been manufactured here locally. Another thing is that we're including our accomplishments as well, and of course, the resources that we have. If you see, we have an example right there for resources from Ms. Carla de la Riva. She was promoting the financial incentives from the Home to Texas programs. So we put that flyer as well. We recently had the new construction of the new industrial complex at the North Brownsville Industrial Park. We include that as well. And then we start putting, for example, the incentives payment to Seatroom or stories such as the one from Liliana Tienda at Larsen Tela. Thanks to this, we increase an engagement rate. The previous engagement rate during November and December, it was 0.46%. Let's remember that the average engagement rate in the social media from Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn is 6.08. Yes.
Could you explain engagement rate?
Correct. So basically, we can receive many people can view our content. Many people can just scroll on their phones. However, who are the ones that are actually engaging? Engage, it means when they give a like, when they provide a comment, or when they share, where they actually look at the content, not only scroll through their phone. So approximately for all the 46,000 daily visits that we've been having, 9.3 of our audience is engaging. And this is 3% above of the average. The average engagement rate worldwide is 6.08%. This means that in the past, from all the posts that they used to put in the social media of Greater Brownsville, they used to have only 8 monthly interactions. Now we're having 531 monthly interactions in general. Any questions so far? Okay. And just to finalize this thing, we're connected with our audience wherever they are. This is a good example. We're currently right now at the airport. We know that in the airport, we get a lot of our audience, business people coming in, business people traveling out. For example, we put a screen over there promoting that we empower economic growth, we transform Brownsville's future. And also in all of the screens of the airport, we're promoting 3 main things so far: the innovation through the space team, the workforce in human capital through manufacturing pictures, and also the residential industrial real estate, my apologies, through pictures, of course, of the industrial parks that we have. And we are not wasting any money here, and we're gonna be able to see what are the things that we need to promote and where do we need to promote them. Why? Because we're creating QR codes that are tailored to each of those platforms. It means that the specific QR code that you're seeing right there, it's gonna be put in only on the material that is at the airport. So we're gonna see how many scans we're getting there. If we create a billboard or a mural or something later in the future, those are gonna be specific QR codes, and we're gonna see which of all of these platforms is actually working. And there are gonna be more opportunities, of course, coming in the next board meeting. I'm gonna be presenting to you more advertising opportunities that we have. And then the last one, of course, the media relations. It's very important for us to have our stories not only on social media, but also to get the help from on social media, but also get the help from the local journalists, and why not national journalists, to promote ourselves out there. So I've been meeting with some of them, sending more press releases. Right now, I'm in the progress of creating a newsletter, so we can be sending them bi-weekly or weekly newsletter, and they can pick our stories and put them online. Now we're going to an international level as well. This week, Mr. Jeffrey Briones recently had an interview with Mexico Industry, and the plan is to have one interview to each of the staff members every 2 to 3 weeks. And in progress, we have a landing page, the website, our newsletter, and of course, to transfer all of our incentives application to an online platform, because right now everything has been only through PDF, and we need to facilitate all of that to our audience. I don't know if you have any questions.
Just a comment. Can you go back to the first slide?
That one?
More? There, you go
Yes.
back to that one. Instead of river, I would put sea. You go back, following,
Which one?
Just forward.
to the next one? No, there was one with that one.
Yeah.
It says road, runway, rail, rocket. Instead of river, I would put sea.
That comes from me, and it's the alliteration that actually sells: road, rail, river, runway, and rocket.
Okay.
And we are more of a river than we are attached to the sea because of the way it comes in, but it's truly just the alliteration of it. We're not trying to play off that we're part of the river system that runs through here, but the reality is the alliteration of being able to talk about it and say it in that manner is just a lot easier than saying sea or, in theory, people could say, well, rocket, you don't really have anything going on with rocket. It is the future, we believe, and it is the future of what SpaceX has talked about moving goods and services that way. So it's just the alliteration, and it flows better. I'm going to change the order of it: road, rail, river, runway, and rocket, because that just flows better off the tongue.
Okay. I was looking at the same thing. I looked at another thing, where you said we had, converting 730 acres. Why 730 acres? Why not say thousands of acres of opportunity, which is what we have?
Yes, that's just an example when we refer, for example, to the big part, right, that we have. That's just an example, but this is how I'm supporting, of course, Eliazar, when he's selling the acres. I mean, we're trying to include the word of opportunity and everything, but yes.
We haven't put forth all of these things yet. Not everything has gone out in the public. These are things that we're working with New Realm on. Alexa's working on them. They're being brought through me. And if it's something that is very major, an absolute change of what we're doing on a direction level, we'll bring it to you guys. But right now, we're trying to figure out, Alexa pointed out, who we are, what we have to offer. And then, of course, we have to keep the quick little short phrase to define that, because that's what people are looking for these days.
Well, I think it's good ideas and excellent work. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else comment? No?
No,
Thank
I,
you.
I agree. It's excellent. We got to tell our story, and I really like the whole platform that you're doing, and I like the educational level of all the likes and all that, because I have a daughter that does marketing, and I get to hear all that, and yeah, it's very interesting, so thank you.
What Alexa's been able to do in a month, we haven't done collectively in years. And that's not picking on this board. It's just having somebody whose responsibility is to do this, and having a professional like Alexa to come on board and do it. In the month she has been here, we have seen just some absolutely dynamic changes. It's been very impressive, our engagements online, what we're hearing from some people in the community. And again, it's only been a month. I think next month when we come in front of you guys, we're going to have some opportunities that will probably be underway at that point in time with some marketing that we're doing, that it's going to blow you guys' minds. And I give Alexa all credit for that. So we're still heavily engaged with New Realm, don't get me wrong. They are really helping to create and drive this for us, because we need them to create the national and international presence. But Alexa's bringing it home with this local flair, so it's been great.
I think it's a great start, and we really needed that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. So first, I'm going to start with the Rotary Club of Historic Bronzeville, the presentation. Mr. Gardella was invited to be able to present and discuss what Greater Bronzeville is doing. And part of that was discussions for the industrial park, recruitment efforts, and everything the team is doing, from marketing to BRE to workforce development and even events. So it was a great day that we were able to discuss with the Rotary Club what Greater Bronzeville has now and in the future. With that also, I'm going to announce that I am part of the subcommittee for the revival of cultural arts for Día de la Internacional de la Mujer. And so I've been invited, I was invited to represent Greater Bronzeville during the Channel 23 segment and discuss how our partnership works together and how we sponsor this event. So I invite you to be able to join me next Friday, March the 8th from 9 to 2 p.m. If you're interested, please email me and let me know so that I can be able to secure a seat for you. This event empowers women and also provides some education, This year we're going to have financial literacy, and it's a great segment. We've done it for 3 years, but this year I was invited, and so I joined, and so now I'm representing this organization as well for this. The next item is me and Eliasar and I attended the TEDC Winter Conference this past week, and part of our personal development. We were so excited because we were able to meet lots of people there. We collectively met Alex Mead, Adriana Cruz, Ed Curtis from White, Texas, and we also met with Ramiro Aleman and a representative from Harlingen. We were able to also meet the TMAC representatives. We learned about what Texas Department of Transportation is doing for Texas. And also DeVry University had a great presentation there to empower workforce and let us know what they are doing to help cities out. So it was a wonderful opportunity, my first time going to TEDC. So I hope that Eliasar and I and the team can continue going to these conferences. Again, we had a great time and learned a lot. So thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Gardella and the board for supporting us in those developments. Any questions? Thank you. Next item. Discussion, consideration, and acknowledgement of Greater Brownsville Financials and Quarterly Investment Report. And the presentations by Salvador Villalpando.
Good evening, board. I want to begin by saying thank you for the opportunity to serve as a finance manager for GBIC. I look forward to working with the board as well as a GBIC team. With that being said, we can dive into the revenues and expenditures through January, which is 4 months into this fiscal year. Total revenues currently are 2.5 million. Which are mainly coming from sales tax and interest. And in the following slides, I'll dive deeper into those categories. Expenditures are at 1.3 million, and that's giving us a surplus of 1.2 million through the month of January. The overall message here is revenues are on pace to exceed the budget, and we're expected to stay within budget for expenditures for the fiscal year.
Okay, run that by one more time, please.
Sure. So revenues through the month of January are at 2.5 million, and they're coming mainly from sales tax, which are at 2.1 million. And sales tax is only including 3 months. We're still missing January. We'll find out January sales tax in March. Once we receive that, we'll have it recorded and allocated to January's financials. Interest is at 414,000. And then we also have 17,000 in sponsorships and 210 in miscellaneous revenues. And we're expected to exceed the budgeted revenues for the fiscal year. And I'll dive deeper into those categories in the following slides. For expenditures.
So in 3 months, we have 38% of our revenue, budgeted revenue.
Correct. And ideally, we want to be around 33%, and we're exceeding that baseline. For expenditures, we're under that. However, for incentive expenses, those are contingent upon companies meeting their performance agreements. And then we also have 944,000 budgeted for a one-time payment to the city. So that's just a timing issue there. But we are expected, or I do expect that we stay within the budgeted expenditures for the fiscal year.
We have 900 and something thousand payment to the city.
It's a $944,000 payment to the city for the airport CO that was taken out.
Okay, all right, sure. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So this slide here has a sales tax comparison between this fiscal year and last. And the row in green here highlights the activity for December. And one of the neat things here is the sales tax collected for December is 888,000. And that's actually the highest sales tax that's been collected in a single month ever. I checked the history on the comptroller website all the way back to 2000, and that's the highest amount. So the increase between this December and last is 20.2%, and that's also been the highest increase on a month-to-month basis since October of 2021. If we look at the subtotal for the first 3 months, sales tax is at 2.1 million. That's a 10.3% increase compared to the previous fiscal year. And if we annualize that 10.3% increase, we're projected to earn around 8 million in sales tax for this fiscal year. So this here is just a visual of the information that I just covered. And The amounts in blue here are showing actual sales tax collections since fiscal year 2020 to the current fiscal year. And then on the right-hand side, we can see the 8 million that's projected to be earned in sales tax for this year. The amounts in green here are showing the budgeted amounts. Those amounts are the budget for the full fiscal year in each of the years. Yes. Yes, and
My quick question. Yeah, no, sorry, I do that all the time.
yes, sir.
Go back one slide a little.
Sure.
So what is the budget revenue sales tax right now?
The budgeted revenues for sales tax is 5.9 million for the full fiscal
We're
year.
gonna hit 8, right?
Projected to be around 8 million based on the activity for the first 3 months. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, just to kind of, when we come to the budgeting process, it probably makes sense to estimate a closer amount to the expected revenue as opposed to, I think the current procedure is to not go more than a certain percentage of the prior year budget. And so from a budgeting standpoint, it really makes sense to be as close to what we expect to come in. So just whenever the budget process, and I think it's closer to the year end when we're coming into the new year, if you would, I'd love to offer some input with respect to the expected amounts in that budgeting process as well, because 5 million to 8 million is a big variance, right? I think we can all
Definitely.
agree that.
Board Member Pena, if I may, we will gladly take you up on sitting down and working through our budget. We are getting ready to start that, I believe, next week, to start having the initial conversations of it. When I came on board last year, the budget had been started, but it was mainly being driven through the city finance office. And so we worked within their constraints of what they determined. And I think someone mentioned at a previous meeting that there was this 10 or 15% plus minus whatever range that they allowed us to put down as far as what we expected our revenues to be. I agree, we should be closer to our reality because it gives us a better opportunity to know exactly what our financials are and what we need to stick with versus ending up having a $2 or $3 or $4 million surplus at the end of the year that we could have committed during the year if we were a little bit more accurate. So as we get into this process, would love to have your input on that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's a very, very good idea. And I think now we've got our very own finance director. It'll be a lot easier to give input. It was difficult to get input to the city. No one not listening and stuff, but now we got somebody who can sit down and listen to us. Good idea.
And if I may add one other thing, Salvatore was very instrumental for me in my first 6 weeks here because he was the one from the city who sat down with me and walked through line item by line item on our budget and gave me the history of what was happening and where we were looking to go in the future. Now, he was with the city at that point in time, so he had some constraints on him about what he could do. But absolutely being in-house right now, I think is going to be a huge benefit for us as we move forward.
I also have some report recommendations to
Sure.
change a little bit of the format to make the reports a little bit easier to read with respect to where we are in comparison to the budget as well as year-to-year comparisons. So that way it'll maybe eliminate a lot of the questions that we have up here.
Definitely.
It's a little bit more, I'm so glad you're on board, that, I can pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, can we just move around a little bit the furniture so
No, definitely. Ultimately, my goal is to provide you all information that you can digest easily to be able to make decisions. So we can definitely work on updating the format.
I think that everybody on the board would appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you. I mean, it's fine. We can go to the next slide. So here we have the fund balances historically since fiscal year 2020. And I wanted to highlight the right side, which is the current fiscal year. So we began the fiscal year with a fund balance of 23.3 million. Through January, we have a surplus of 1.2. So the total fund balance is currently at 24.5 million, broken down into designated and undesignated. So we have 20.6 in undesignated, and then we have 3.9 in designated, which will possibly be lower depending on one of the following items on the agenda for Maximus. Next slide, please. So lastly, here's a snapshot of the investment portfolio as of January. We have 24 million broken down into the following. So we have 1% in the demand account, which is the account we use for operating activities, so payroll accounts, payable, et cetera. And that account's yielding the lowest rates, 2.78%. Then we have 29% in the money market account, which is about 6.9 million, and that's yielding 5.22%. And then the majority of our portfolio, 70%, is in the investment pool account. So those are overnight pool accounts, meaning we can withdraw those funds on an as-needed basis, right? And I took a training last week, public finance officer investment training. One of the biggest takeaways that I took from that is, so this slide is showing we earn interest of 413,000 in 4 months, which is great, right? That's really high interest earned, but there's opportunities to earn even more interest. It's expected that the interest rates are going to start declining. So it might be in our best interest to possibly lock in these higher interest rates with CDs, so we can lock in a high interest rate and we'll still be earning higher interest when the rates start decreasing. So next month, we'll be bringing an investment policy to the board to adopt. That way we can handle our own investments going forward.
With respect to, if you could back up a little bit, with respect to the funds that are at PNC, do you know, and I know that GBIC is a component unit of the city, do you know if those funds, if PNC has pledged securities for those funds?
To my understanding, yes. So if we have a balance over 250,000, they are collateralized.
Okay.
Yes.
So they are covered.
Yes. We should have the letters of credit on file.
And do you get the report from PNC showing that?
As of right now, I do not. It would be the city of Brownsville that's receiving those reports.
Okay.
Can we ask for that?
We can.
Just to make sure that they're collateralized.
Yeah,
Yes.
at some point, I mean, with the break in accounting, that's something that we're gonna have to oversee to ensure that those funds are covered by whoever our depositor is, so.
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
Okay.
Just make sure.
And again, board, if I could remind you, since this position is new, Sal is going to be creating that policy for you. We're also going to be altering our policy on check signing and who can sign. There'll be 2 signatures. One is definitely going to be a board member. The other one would be myself. So anything that we do, any type of payment that is committed to, it's going to have 2 to 3, if not 4 generations of people looking at it, signing it before it goes out the door. I believe Board Member Pena, you had mentioned to me about doing our own internal audit on an annual basis. And we're going to put that into the policy as well. We believe that is something that we want to do because we don't want any questions about anything that we're doing. And that's why I suggested at the beginning of this meeting, Salvador is available to you at any point in time. If you have questions, you are more than welcome to pick up the phone and call him, email him, or if you prefer to work through me, you can do that. But it's so great for us to have someone on board who is looking at this for us on a daily basis and being able to bring recommendations either to me or to you on how we can do better with our money. So it's very appreciative. And please, if you ever need his services, call. Thank you.
So Sal is our Public Funds Investment Act.
As of right now, I am not.
You're not?
As of right now, I am not, but due to the policy that's going to be brought to the board next month,
Okay.
it'll be included, my position will be included as an investment officer for GBIC.
Okay, so you will be the investment officer.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And you have your training and all that?
Right, the policy requires that you have the training, and I took it last week. It actually gives you 6 months from the date you receive the responsibility, but I already got the training last week.
Good.
Yes.
Any more questions, guys?
Yeah, before we move on, because I know Maximus is going to be one of the items we're going to discuss on our unreserved but designated fund balance schedule. We're still showing Project Surf and Project Cook with contract dates that expired a year and a half ago. So we need to discuss what we're gonna do with those.
We can discuss that in the closed setting.
Yeah, we could do that, but we need to bring up these items on.
Yes.
Because a lot of these are past their contract dates.
Yes, I think the team has been, I think Jerry's been leading the effort on cleaning up a lot of these things. That's why we got the payment out to C-Trim recently. It's why we are going to be actually ending our agreement with SATA and not paying them out, and that's a mutual understanding. So there are, before we get into next year's budget, we want to have a lot of these items cleaned up and the money's reappropriated to the appropriate category or paid out. As we discussed before, we do no good with our money if we can't give it to these businesses. But we also have, they have metrics they have to meet. And if they're not meeting the metrics, then obviously we can't give them the money. So we've been doing, I think, a fairly good job in the last, let's say, 90 days about reaching out to these businesses and saying, please help us to help you.
Yeah, or extend the contract dates because most of them are out of contract.
If there are no more questions, we need a motion.
Thank you very much, Salvador. Very glad to have you on board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to acknowledge the financials.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, discussion and action, if any, on resolution number R-2024-01, approving signatories for bank accounts and related matters.
So this item here is a proposed resolution to update the authorized signers. So since we're going to be processing accounts payable in-house, as we're processing checks, we need two signatures. One will be Brett, and that we would need a second signature from one of the board members. So on the left-hand side are the current authorized signers, and we're proposing the one on the right-hand side, which would be Mr. Gardella, Mr. Jensen, Mr. Gonzalez, and Dr. Hinojosa. So we're recommending that the board adopt the resolution to update the authorized signers.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Second. Okay, all those, in discussion, sorry. Anybody want to say something? Okay, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion passes.
Don't get a stamp.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion, consideration, and action on the payment of economic development incentives regarding the performance agreement for Bronzeville Greyhound, and the presentations by Jerry Briones.
Yes, good afternoon again. And I apologize because I know you mentioned Project Cook, and I didn't remember if it was Greyhound, but I believe it is Greyhound. But I do apologize. Since I took over, I kind of just went through the company since it's already been an open session and stuff. So as Brent mentioned, since I came on board, one of the things that at that time Ms. Minor tasked me with was to clean up all the pending incentive payments that were due. We've been working on some to make sure that if there's an opportunity to pay them out, we pay them out. Obviously, we're here to assist companies to grow, so that's kind of the outlook that we take. So in that case, Greyhound, it was lagging. So in 2018, GBIC and Greyhound entered a 10-year performance agreement. They were committed to 87 new jobs over 10 years, paying wages up to $26.44 per hour plus benefits. Greyhound, when COVID hit, it hit them pretty bad. They closed completely, entirely, and they did not reopen until late 2022. And if the board remembers, I was bringing updates as we were visiting, Ms. Joanna and myself. We were doing visits over there, seeing where they were at, seeing what they were doing. It's fully functional now. They built a brand new wash rack where they're washing all their buses. They actually can, they were going to Harlingen to do all their waste dump, and now they do it here locally. They've hired a bunch of new people, mechanics. It's really a very clean operation now. They resurfaced the parking lot, and they're looking at expanding the backside parking lot as well. So I know I'm kind of going over a little bit too much, but so they have created since March of 2023, 56 jobs with an average wage of $20.64. Ms. Joanna and I, and actually we included Sal in this, when we were doing this. So that 56 new jobs accounts for 64.4% of the jobs stipulated in the performance agreement, which was the 87. So what we did was, if they had created the 87 jobs, it would have been $30,000 payout. So we recommend a payout of $19,310.34 for the creation of those 56 jobs, which represents the 64.4% of the 30,000 incentive payout. The remaining amount, and we got permission from Mr. Gardella, we talked about this as well. The remaining amount we will bring up to the board at the end of 2024 if they create the additional 31 jobs, which obviously we request 941s and we request updated information on the employees. So if the board will has any questions, I'll be happy to take.
Gary,
Yes, sir.
you're looking at into the 10-year performance agreement.
Yes.
What does that mean? That it's a 10-year agreement and after a couple of years we pay out?
Right.
It
doesn't.
At what point have they made the 10-year agreement?
So the way this contract was written, it's a little vague, starting with the average wage, which says up to $26.44. It should have been probably a little bit more specific. And that's why we kind of said with an average wage of $20.64. So it says that by the end of the 5 years, they should create the 87 jobs. So my understanding is the next 5 years, they need to keep those 87 jobs, but we don't pay them anymore after they create those 87 jobs. At least that's how I kind of read the contract.
Well, you say, yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to amend the
I
contract?
think that's what needs to happen in all events.
Because you're just recommending we pay a percentage, but that's not in the agreement. The
No,
agreement is 87 in 5 years and they don't
Right.
have that.
right.
So they're not entitled to any of the 30.
And that's why we kind of brought it up here. We did discuss it and we did say, well, you know what, they did bring jobs to the table.
Yeah.
They were closed, there's mitigating, right? They couldn't find employees, all these other
That's a
things.
perfect, like Frank's saying, it needs to be amended and then we need to make sure that we're not, because there's clawbacks in here. And if we
There
suddenly
is.
just start giving out money, can we get the clawback if we're not even following our own,
Right.
Yeah.
contracts? So.
Yeah, I think what you can do is if we're switching the model of incentives to be on a per job basis, you'd probably want to change that section to talk about, first off, new jobs with wages no less than a certain amount. And then second, to just talk about per job, you get X amount. And then just do away with this whole schedule thing because I agree with Leona. I mean, if they're not meeting it, they're not entitled to it. But at the same time, I don't know what we've paid out to them on the schedule either. So it's a weird situation, but I think if both
It
parties
is.
are in agreement that we're going to switch to some type of per job, let's just make that the.
And that's actually how we've started looking at the new performance agreements that we've kind of looked at as, and I think a lot of it goes back to, we see some of the old performance agreements. So how do we make it
better.
tighter,
Yeah.
better, right? So, so I perfectly understand. I can take this back. And
Well, if the board is okay with staff's recommendation, it's just a matter of papering it up, right? So we can close the loose hole. So if you want to move forward and not delay it, you could pass this, accept the recommendation, pass it, subject to the amendment that is finally approved by the executive director and the board attorney, unless you want to see the amendment come back.
I mean, I trust you to do what you need to do, but I think as long as we agree on, we're switching to a per job performance no
Going forward.
less than $26.44 per hour.
Okay.
Is that the idea? Like,
just,
Okay,
That, or you bring it up to whatever we've been doing and with the other contracts that we've been signing. So to be consistent and have one set of contract that is more consistent, and so we know where we stand on each contract, that we don't have to be going back and forward and with all the contracts. I don't know what you recommend or what you've seen.
so on a consistent basis, our incentives application states they must meet $15 an hour with benefits, right? So we don't look at anything less than $15 an hour. And how we try to average it is obviously, this may be something that the board has some suggestions on. We take all the salaries together, right? Whether it's management, whether it's the janitor, whether it's the guys in between. And I'm not saying that the janitors are at the low at the end. And then we average the whole thing out to make sure that it averages out to $15 an hour. If that's something that the board wants to look at as well, and I'm sorry, Brett, I'm not trying to overstep.
No. I think that we've actually, most recently, we've been talking to businesses about paying 18 an hour. We are really trying to elevate what we do in this city, as you guys know. So on this particular contract, this was something that it's been out there for a few years. I don't disagree at all that we need to probably go back through and amend this and make it more correct with what we do. But what I would like to do is make sure that we acknowledge that they've made efforts because they were literally closed down. So if it's okay, we would like to at least get them out a $19,310.34 payment based on what they've created. But because I don't want to penalize them and say, oh, no, you didn't create, therefore it's done and over with. I don't want to be that guy, right? We don't want to be that organization.
And they've been very cooperative. I have to say that they've been very cooperative, even more so than some of the others. They're very transparent. If they say, hey, we're doing this, Ms. Joanna and I go and they're doing those things. One was they said, hey, we're doing a wash rack. They built the wash rack.
So what do we do to move forward, incorporating Frank's suggestion? What do we do to move forward and vote on it now?
Do you want to say anything else before I can make a motion?
Just try and keep the wages the way, I mean, not as 26. I think the way you managed it with an average, I think it's not, it's a fair,
right.
It's fair for both sides.
Right.
You should put probably just a minimum, not go under X amount.
Right.
Just to, so they have at least a floor, and then you can go up all the way, so you can do. That's the only my recommendation.
Yeah, so my comment, I'll make a motion, but I just want to be clear on what I think you all need to decide what that number is, what the collective average wage should be that you guys have the knowledge of what it should be and what it shouldn't be. So I'll present a motion, make a motion to approve the payment subject to amendment of the contract to set forth a schedule of jobs per payment in a collective amount and average as set by the executive director.
Okay, yes, sir. I wrote that down.
Y'all understand the motion?
Second.
I have just a few questions. So
Fine.
how much has been paid? 75,000, the first one was paid?
Yes, so the preceding ones or the next ones were not paid out.
So B and
So
C
we're
were
only
not.
paid the year 22.
I mean, this just needs to be like fixed
Yes.
a lot. The contract makes no sense because it doesn't provide for any of that. And it doesn't even, the way I read it, it doesn't even require, like, we should have paid all of it. Right? I mean, you should have paid all of it.
Well,
up until-
well, it does read.
It says in
that-
10 years,
yeah,
it's only been
in
5.
10 years, yes, you're right. But in
Okay,
5.
so the whole contract needs to be redone, because this does not say what y'all have been doing. And I mean, even the 30, it just, if you pay this, which I'm gonna vote yes on this motion. but
And
I'm
maybe a
just putting it
suggestion
in.
is, after we pay the full 30, maybe we cancel it and draw up a new one.
Well, the problem is once you amend.
Right, once you amend it.
I think you amend, but recognize that they didn't meet the criteria for the following years, so we're not liable for that part.
Right.
Yes,
So that-
that, exactly that, because we
And we
just
can
want to be
include that.
clear, we're redoing it, we're paying you this, whatever, 19,310, but they're not entitled to B or C or the rest of D, and going forward, this
2021.
is how we calculate the incentives.
And if I may, board member, completely agree with you. I believe this gives us the opening to have that conversation with them to say, we're willing, the board was willing to pay you 19,310, even though you didn't meet it. However, we need to make sure that the agreement from this date moving forward for the next, whatever it is, 5 years, is correct. Because
And Greg,
we
sorry.
have to make sure in all of our agreements that we have the clawback ability, without a doubt. If they don't meet the performance agreement, then they don't get paid. But we want to look at them and say, this was something that was recruited into our market. Right after recruitment, they hit COVID. And now that they're here, they are investing in their property. They have made some capital improvements to it. And they have worked, I think, very well, I'm going to say, the last 60 days with both Jerry and Giovanna, including asking our advice to see what we can do to help them get service down into Mexico. So we are establishing a pretty good partnership with them. So I do believe this is a grand opportunity to restructure this agreement.
So I'll amend my motion to include an acknowledgement in the amendment that they are not entitled to the payment set forth in section 3.1.
Yes, sir.
And then in the end, they're going to need this whole thing revised because they don't want to be subject to a clawback. So
Right.
that's why this is the time to amend the whole contract. And I just wanted to add, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you had finished talking, but just that we know that Greyhound is a good partner and they've always worked closely with us. And I think they're great and they're doing a lot, bringing a lot of jobs, and they're clearly investing in Brownsville. So it's a good idea to reward them and keep the good relationship going.
Yes, ma'am. We'll fix it.
Okay, can we get,
Yep.
read the motion one more time, Frank, to make sure? Because now we got so many changes.
I make a motion to approve the payment, subject to the parties entering into an amendment to amend section 3.1 of the agreement to revise payments, to be scheduled on a per job basis in a collective amount set by the executive director, average collective amount set by the director, and Greyhound acknowledging that they're not entitled to payments under section 3.
Yes, sir.
Like that.
You got that?
Yes.
Okay,
But
we need a motion.
We may have the motion in a second.
We
Second.
had a second from.
We had a second. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, discussion, consideration, and action authorizing termination of Maximus Incorporated Performance Agreement dated April 17, 2014, and the presentation is also by Mr. Briones.
So this is another contract that was brought up to our attention. So this was a contract that was written up back in April 17th in 2014 by then BEDC, Brownsville Economic Development Council. So the incentive did call for $400 per job, not to exceed $240,000 per year for 10 years in consideration for Maximus creation and retention of up to 600 full-time local jobs with an average wage of $11 per hour. Since 2014, up to just prior to COVID, we paid out $1,072,000. When COVID hit, it struck them pretty hard. A lot of their workforce went remote. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of their workforce, probably the majority. And unfortunately, they were not able to keep up, or their HR, their accounting was not able to keep up with tracking who was working where and who's employed where. And we asked for tons of records. We got 200-page reports. 941s were not coming from Brownsville. They were coming from nationwide because they just have consolidated accounting systems. So it was very difficult and we tried very hard to try to come up with the numbers. And in all honesty, we couldn't. So we recommended to Mr. Gardella that I think the best course of action would be to cancel the performance agreement and start new, and try to see how we can work together. And we've had, and when I say we, Ms. Joanna and I have had multiple discussions with their HR director. In the last discussion, which was just a couple of weeks ago, he actually called the Zoom meeting and said, you know what, Jerry, I think you're right. I think it's best that we just terminate the contract and let's sit down in the future and see how we can work something that we can meet and that you guys are comfortable with. So, so that's why we're here today, to kind of ask if the board would like to terminate the performance agreement that was signed back in 2014.
Yes.
I need a motion to.
Motion to authorize termination of that performance agreement.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at this and please educate me. I thought GBIC was to create industrial jobs. How does Maximus fall into this?
So in the Texas Incorporation Act that creates economic development organizations, there is the primary jobs list. And in that primary job list, it will tell you what companies' employment categories or nexus codes, which is the national something about jobs, right? And in their call centers are part of primary jobs.
It's, the thing to always remember is it isn't primary jobs in industry. It's primary jobs. That's what we get to do, and that's how we get to go forth. It's all about growing businesses within the community, not just in industry. That's where the misnomer has come in about when we were originally talking about being a type A corporation, because that has changed quite a bit. And also the misnomer of being known as the Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation, that has become a little bit of an issue for us because people think we're just here to give them money, which we're not. We are here to grow the right types of businesses within our community and or help those businesses that are here in existence to grow and expand. So it's primary job creation, not industry specific.
But our job is to create jobs, not any specific jobs, but create jobs.
Correct.
Well, but there is a list of the jobs that are, you know, for incentives, right? So there is, but it is, he's right. It's not by industry, it's by nexus codes.
Jerry,
Yes, sir.
what does renegotiating terms and conditions for a more sustainable performance agreement mean? I mean, if they're not able to comply
Yeah,
right
fancy way
now-
of saying that we're going to work with them to see what we can do. But it's, you know, we don't really know, and I don't think they really know what they can do. So I think I know that they were going back to their accounting department and seeing how they can, I guess, compartmentalize, you know, by cities instead of just lumping everybody into one accounting system, which was the biggest, actually, that's their problem.
Well,
Everybody,
what
we're
most accounting
attempting to do.
systems allow for division reporting? You know, division one.
apparently not, because we went back to them multiple times and we had a lot of discussions really since mid last year and before then. And we actually gave them in November, we actually gave them the 30-day termination notice that was ending in about the end of December. And they came back and they said, hey, you know what, Jerry, can we do one last try? We want to talk to our accounting department. I said, okay, fine, but January is it, guys. I can't, we can't go any further. You got 30 more days. And they actually came back and they said, we can't do it. You know, as bad as it is, and it goes back to, I think, he doesn't even know who works from home, or they don't even know who works from home.
Well, they're paying those people, so.
You know, I thought the same thing.
So
Come on,
if
you don't know?
I may, you I'm gonna apologize, and step on Jerry here a little bit, but basically what this is that we're breaking up at remaining friends. And if there's an opportunity to work with them in the future, we want to do that because again, we want to be the right organization to help businesses move forward. Are we anticipating anything now? No. Is there anything presented to us now? No.
No.
What we want to do is terminate this agreement, both go our separate ways,
And then
but have the ability
figure it out.
in the future.
Yeah, and then figure it
Yeah,
out.
we okay? We got a motion on the table to accept the cancellation. We have a second.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, discussion, consideration, and action on a memorandum of understanding MOU with Workforce Solutions Cameron for a Texas Workforce Commission high demand job training, and the presentation is by Carla de la Riva.
Good afternoon again, board members. So just to give you a little bit of background, as you know, we have multiple projects. We have now 2 LNG projects in the Port of Brownsville, as well as many other industry partners that are in desperate need of, high skill training, from pipe fitters, welders, carpenters, technicians. It is estimated within the next 2 to 3 years, we will be having 5,000 workers working on site for one of the LNG projects. And also out of those 5,000, around 2,000 of them will be pipe fitters. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background of some of the, jobs that are in demand coming up soon here or projects here in Brownsville. Next slide. So as you know, we're actively working in partnership with all the education institutions, the technical, the state college, as well as the CTE program to find ways to assist the needs of our industry partners, right? So now we're actually coming to you to request an approval for a high demand job training grant. And of course, this will lead into creating a memorandum of understanding between Cameron, Workforce Solutions Cameron, the BISD ACE program, the Adult Continuing Education, GBIC, and of course, we'll have the support of the Texas Workforce Commission, which is the state. And this is with the purpose to create training or provide training to, people in pipe fitting, diesel mechanic, welding, as well as CDL drivers. And if this was come into motion, it will start March the 1st, all the way to April 30th of 2025. Next slide. So the funding request, it will be to provide funding for $150,000 for a high demand job training grant program. And this, we will ask also for a match from the state, from Texas Workforce Commission, and then that will be a 1-to-1 match of $150,000. What will that give us? It will be training for 74 employees, 74 people that want to go through the training, to upskill them, in case they don't have a job, get them through the training, or if they want to upskill their jobs, get them through the training as well. Next slide. And of course, the breakdown of this will be, a 1-to-1 match from Texas Workforce Commission and Workforce Solutions Cameron with GBIC. And of course, our contribution will cover for the training of 37 people, right? And that will be for Brownsville residents only. Now, the other half, which is from the state, that will be used through Texas Workforce Solutions Cameron, it will be for another 37, and that could be dispersed on Cameron County. However, I want to highlight that a lot of the need will be here in Brownsville, right? Because we have these projects here. And of course, I'm gonna just give you a brief summary of this. You have the breakdown of the different trainings that they need. We're gonna have, with this money, basically we will be training 26 pipe fitters, 15 CDL drivers type A, 15 CDL drivers type B, 8 welders, and 10 diesel mechanic technicians. And of course, you have the breakdown of the hours of training here. Next slide. And of course, if, we started this memorandum of understanding and partnership, the Adult Continuing Education Program will be the one that will be, recruiting the students and, reaching out to them so we can go ahead and meet the metrics. And like I said, just to give you a quick recap, it will be 74 individuals that will be receiving training in the different categories that I mentioned. Half of the money will be from GBIC and the other half will be from the state. Next slide. And the TWC fund, the matching fund works that, unless we use the money, they are gonna be able to match. It's a one-to-one match. So an example of, we were gonna use $80,000, they will put $80,000, right? And if we don't use all the funding, they can go ahead and provide the money back to GBIC. Next
Who's
slide.
going to do the training?
The adult continuing education program, and actually we have Ricardo Rivera here, in case you have any questions. So he will be providing the training for the different students, and of course, in partnership with other providers, but it will be the grant for adult continuing education program. Have any questions for Ricardo?
So he's from BISD ACE?
Yes, the adult continuing education. And as seen, we've been working very closely with the CT department, the younger crowd, high school students, and of course now with the adult continue program. What we want to do is creating the continuations, how we're training the students, and of course, hopefully the fathers and, have a well-rounded training for everybody here in Brownsville. Next slide. And of course, we wanted to, ask for, if possible, for your approval of this grant. And of course, if you have any more questions, we also have Workforce Solutions Camera here to answer any questions that you may have.
I don't have any questions, but I would request that the MOU or whatever agreement we ultimately get to include some sort of requirement to track the graduates of the program in order and post graduation, so we can get a good idea of, do they stick around, how many, they may be Brownsville residents, but are they residents just for the interim, something, so we at least understand how far our dollar went. So that I just, as long as that's included in the MOU and in the agreement, that's what I'd ask that we want to see.
If I may, how many years of reporting, would you like 24 months
I
post-graduation?
think, yeah, 24 months is probably,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
I think all of the stuff we've been doing with training and stuff, it's been ever returning problem that we've not had an ability to see what happens afterwards. What are they doing and are they being retained? So it'd be great if we can come up with something we can use in other contracts as well.
Yes. She actually has some information about that because, as you know, they're also funded through the state, so they need to have some tracking systems in place. So I know Ms. Ali can provide some information about that right now.
Good evening. Yes, we have a platform that we use that is provided by the Texas Workforce Commission, where we data enter all the information of the participants. And once they graduate, we enter all the credentials and all of the employment information, including earnings, and we track them for 4 quarters after exit. And it could be up to 15 months after exit.
So you can track it for a total of 15 months.
Yes. We have specific performance standards that we need to meet with TWC, which includes, like I mentioned, the entered employment, employment after quarter, second quarter after exit, fourth quarter after exit, credential, measurable skills gain, and earnings.
Is there any way that staff can get that information fairly easy so they can track our success?
Well, we have to
With
rely
these
on them
programs.
turning in the reports to us, and I have every full faith that they will, especially now since we're talking about it publicly. But if they can get us at least out to 15 months or 16 months, that'd be great. We'll see if we can get it to 24 months.
We can certainly track up to 24 months because we do have that system where we can see where they're at and the wages that are being earned every quarter.
Perfect.
And I believe that AE also has a tracking system.
Yeah, we cross-match information, and we currently do that already for the students that we are getting certified in other areas that don't cover this. We already do that to keep track of our performances. So I just want to say that your local AEL provider, Adult Education and Literacy, is 148% compliant with the state. We are very successful in meeting our performance measures, and we are currently doing everything that you're asking. We are already doing it in other programs. So this will be just a great start to continue to create employment for the people that are here in Bronzeville. I do want to say that some of the data that will come back later is these people that get certified in this level 1 certificates will come back and get a level 2 certificate. So sometimes during that area, they will not be employed because they're coming back for another certificate to continue to grow and to get better paying jobs. So that also happens with this data that we can collect. So because on the employment side, they're employed, we track them through the Social Security number on the back end. But when they're in education, if they continue to educate themselves, that's hard to track unless they come back through our program. I just wanted to say that up front because we do have those students that sometimes we miss them because why is he not working? Well, guess what? That student is on their way to getting an associate, getting a level 2 certificate, up to their bachelor's. The diesel mechanic tech now becomes a diesel mechanic, a fully certified diesel mechanic, because this is a great start to get them in that career pathway of growth. So I just wanted to say that up front because it does happen, which is a great thing because instead of staying in that level 1 certificate job, they get to access better paying jobs and they keep growing. And they serve as a really good reminder for other people who want to start these certifications to get on board. And there's this pathways that we can offer to the Bronzeville residents.
I think when they go back to do continued education, that really should be considered as employed, in my mind.
Yeah, and we do try to, because our students will come back, even though what they have exited, they'll come back to us for guidance. And we do try to get them into apprenticeship programs or try to find them a way where they can continue to be employed and continue their education. It's a little harder, especially when, the college has an 8 to 5 certificate for 3 or 4 months. They have to, it's hard to go to school 8 to 5 and then go to work, the night shift. It's hard. So they sacrifice that time to continue their education. And we do have a lot of those. We service, for the year, we service around Cameron County wide, we service about 2,000 students. So we've been in a trend of growth for the last 3 years. We just recently got 3 awards for Career Pathway Adult Learner of the Year, HAC Adult Learner of the Year, and ESL Adult Learner of the Year. So we're doing really, really good.
Good, I think you got it.
I think Carla can probably go and find out stuff for us since she works so closely with them. So if we need more than what's on page 3 of the MOU, which is monthly through April 2025, I'm sure Carla could get more information, but I would move to approve.
Second, have a motion to approve.
Sorry, I think she.
I just wanted to mention that the funding that we draw down from TWC, I know that the GBIC will be earmarked for Bronzeville residents, but for us, we serve the whole county, so the other 150,000 will be for any resident that lives in Cameron County. For the 150 that will be drawn down from TWC. Yes.
Which could also be Brownsville.
Yes.
All right, we have a
I made a motion.
motion to approve, a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The ayes have it, the motion passes.
I just wanted to say very quick that thank you so much for the approval, number one, and second of all, this is very innovative because usually they don't do this type of grants with adult continuing education programs, but they have been so successful and we have been working very closely with them. We got the data from the industry partners that actually needed this job, so we actually did some research before actually bringing these positions for approval. And of course, all the leveraging that we were doing from other partnerships that we have done. So, even the curriculum building, we've been working very closely. So it's a well-rounded ground for this. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. I need a motion to adjourn to go to executive session.
So moved.
Second. Before we adjourn, I'm going to read really quickly. Closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.087, all related to project industrial, and 551.071 and 551.074, all related to the executive director and CEO and health benefits. And now we may adjourn to executive
Now
session.
I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to executive session.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we have to take that.
Ben, which one are you? Which table are you gonna sit at, GBIC or chamber? Which table are you sitting at? The GBIC or the chamber?
Well, you're in both the picture, right?
But I don't think I RSVP'd.
She's involved in chamber, she's the chairperson. I mean, little respect there.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Chairman,
I got two. Ah,
Chairman,
yes.
we need a motion to reconvene, please.
Can I have a motion to reconvene?
Yes.
Second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the meeting is reconvened.
Thank you. Next item, consideration and action, if any, including but not limited to the adoption of board resolutions related to items discussed in executive sessions, project industrial, and personal matters related to executive director and CEO and health benefits.
No action.
There are no action to be taken
On both items?
on both items. So now I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion passes. We are adjourned.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Sorry?
Thank you and have a great evening.
Same to you. Sorry to make you wait so long.
Oh, yeah.
I like this.
I know, I was putting.
Oh, that's,
I'm not trying to find that one.
that's true. I'm an older person.
Yeah.
You must be the future, yeah. Okay, thank you.